Good morning, class. Welcome to yet another session. I hope you guys are happy to be here this morning. So, before we go on to today's lesson, we'll do a bit recapping. Good. Can anyone remember what we did last class? John, I see you have something to say. What is that? We look at and tools. Excellent. Give John a clap. You remembered what we looked at last class. Good. So, since John remembered that we looked at hand tools last class, does anyone remember what hand tools are? Yes, Stephen. And tools are tools that are powered by man. Great. So I see you guys is paying keen attention to last class. You remember what we looked at. Even remember the definition of what we looked at. Good. So in today's lesson, we'll be looking at a specific type of tool, right? And I'll give you guys a little riddle. And after this riddle, you will know exactly which type of tool we're looking at. Right? Good. So, listen to this carefully. Right? I have no current. Right? And I want to cut a piece of wood to put on the step. What am I going to use? Listen to it again. I have no current and I want to cut a piece of wood to put on the step. What am I going to use? Think about it. You have no current, want to cut a piece of wood. What am I going to use? Alright? Good. I see Sierra has her hands up. Yes, Sierra, what do you have to say? We use a saw. Great. We use a saw, but not just any saw. We use an saw. Right? So, our topic for today is handsaw. Right? As we go later on in the term, we look at some other types of hand tools. But our focus for today is the hand saw. Right? Good. So, I have a PowerPoint presentation here for you. And we'll be going through it. I hope you guys pay keen attention and gather some information from it. Right? Good. Okay, students, so you now focus your attention on the board, right? I have a PowerPoint here stating on the definition of an handsaw. We'll read carefully and understand what a handsaw is. Good. When we read it together. So let's go. Good. It says an handsaw is a tool that has a long or round blade with sharp points. Right? It is a tool that has a round or long blade with sharp points. Right? Or we know as teeth. Right? Sharp teeth, sharp edges. Good. It is used for cutting hard materials such as wood, that is operated by hand rather than using electricity or a motor. So we operate an handsaw using our hand, right? No current or no motor. It's just our hand. It is used for cutting hard materials such as wood. Do you think we can use the handsaw for cut anything else, class? Yes, let me hear what you have to see. A piece of pipe. Yes, we can maybe use an handsaw to cut a piece of pipe, but that is not the correct tool that should be used to cut a piece of pipe, right? But it can work. We can, in the case that we don't have a hacksaw or a pipe cutter, we can simply use an handsaw. So the handsaw comes in handy not only to just cut hard materials as wood, but also, come in handy to cut a piece of pipe. Good, so we will now look at the parts of a handsaw. Alright?
Okay, students. Now we're moving on to the parts of handsaw. So, can anyone tell me some parts on an handsaw? Yes, Mary. The handle, yes, this is correct. John, the toe, yes, this is correct. Can anyone tell me one more part? Yes. Yes, Solomon. The back. Yes, this is correct. Okay, so you get more than one part of an answer. So this is a sample of an answer. So I explain the parts of an answer. So the first part we get on the picture, the handle. So this is the handle. We use the handle to hold the saw and cut if we cut in a wood or something. Then we're looking at Acer, we get the eel. This part is the eel. With the handle hold the eel. Then we're looking at this part thing. This part there we call the front of the saw. Then we move back, we get the back, then we come down, we get the teeth. These here are the teeth. The teeth used to cut if it's a wood or any other material, the teeth. Then we move on to the next part. We get a toe. The toe is this round thing on the saw. And the last part, the blade. The blade is on air. So we get 7 parts on one saw. So can anyone tell me some definition on these parts? Yes, John.
Great, so Mrs. just looked at the parts of the saw with you guys, alright? So we know that there are 7 parts of the saw. Just to name a few: the handle, the eel, the toe, the teeth, the back, the blade, and the front. Right? So we'll now move on to some types of handsaw. So there are several types of handsaw. There are a lot of types of handsaw out there, right? But for today's lesson, we are only going to look at 4 of those types, right? If you watch, we have 4 types here. Can anyone pronounce the first word, the first type that we're looking at? Yes, Jason, I see you have your hands up. What is that? Tenon? Great. So the first type of saw that we're looking at today is a tenon saw, right? The next one we have is the dovetail. And we have the cross cut and the ripsaw. Right? So I'm sure most of these things are new to you. You might never heard of them before, or you might only see one type of saw that we have here before. Right? Good. And the saw that Ms. had just now demonstrating the type is the most common one that you will find or see around the oval. Right? Does anybody want to guess what type of saw this is? Don't be shy. Make a guess, right? Yes, Samuel. The dovetail? No. This is not the dovetail. You're close. This is not the dovetail, but thanks for trying. Good. So, this here I have with me is the cross-cut saw. Right? This is what a cross-cut saw looks like. And similarly to a cross-cut, we have the rip saw. Right? They look similar, right? So, how can we even tell the difference between a cross-cut saw and a rip saw? Maybe we want to go but start talking about, oh, these two saws look the same, but no, they are not. There's a difference between those two saws. And does anyone want to guess where the difference comes into play? Yes. The size? I figured that you might have said so, but no, it's not the size. It is the teeth. The teeth of the saws are different, right? And you'll notice the difference when you are cutting a piece of wood, right? They cut different. As we move on and we go further into our lesson, we're going to know exactly how these saws are being functioned, right? So we have the cross-cut saw, the rip saw, right? Just pass the rung into the class and look at it and be careful with the blade because they are very sharp, right? We have the cross-cut and the rip. I also have the tenon saw and the dovetail saw here, right? Good. I have the cross-cut and the dovetail. So, just examine it, pass the rung, be careful with the blade because they are very sharp. And examine them. Good. For examining them, we'll look at each one of these saws individually. Right? Good.
Okay, students, now we're looking at the first type of saw. So the first type of saw is a tenon saw. So now we're going to move on to the definition of a tenon saw. So a tenon saw is a large back saw. So when you talk about large back saw, we're talking about this part on the saw. Used for making deep, accurate cut in furniture journey. It should make straight, fast cut without bending. So when you're saying straight, fast cut without the saw bending. So now we move on to the next types of saw.
Good. So, let's look at the tenon saw. The next type that we look at now is the dovetail, right? Good. So, here is the dovetail gate. And the difference with the dovetail and the tenon is blade. Right? Same as the crosscut and the rip saw. Good. So let us read the definition of what the dovetail really is. It says a small box saw. Hey, Ram, so you pick up that snare now. Okay, students, let's just look at the tenon saw with you guys. The next type that we look at is the dovetail. Here I have the dovetail in my hand. I have instructed you to take a look of it, and I'm sure you have done so, right? Good. So let us now look at the definition of what the dovetail really is, or what the dovetail really does, right? It says that it's a small box saw used to cut dovetails, right? So in joinery, right, when we are making different joints, there are different types of joint. And there's a specific type of joint that is called the dovetail. Sometimes you might have seen it before, but you don't know that that is a dovetail joint. Right? It's something like a triangle zigzag thingy, right? We put two woods together and they join as a joint. Right? So this is the saw that we use to cut the dovetails. Right? Good. So these saws usually have a higher number of teeth per inch, around 15 to 20 TPIs, right? So these teeth on these dovetails are higher than the one that we find on a tenon saw, right? We have 15 to 20 per inch, right? And you know what the inch is? You take a little pinky finger, is it? Force will cut off, right? And we have 50 to 20 teeth per inch, right? So, with this teeth sharpened into a rip tooth pattern and minerals set to leave a narrow pore, right? So, these here are specialized to cut dovetail joints. So when we're joining or we want to make a dovetail joint, we use a dovetail saw, the specialist. Right? So we now look at the next type of saw.
Okay, students. Now we're moving on to the third types of saw. So we know the third types of saw is a cross-cut saw. So the cross-cut saw, I don't know if it is a straw saw. It is any saw designing or cutting wood. So this saw designed to cut wood. For cutting wood perpendicular or across the wood grain. So when you set a cutting wood across the wood grain, it will start from the edge of the wood to start from. So we will look at the next types of saw, that will be the final saw. So can anyone tell me what is the next types of saw? John? Rip saw, yes, that is correct. So we'll move on to the rip saw.
Good, so the final type of saw is the rip saw, right? Remember earlier I mentioned that there's a difference between the blade of the rip saw and the cross-cut saw, right? Miss forgot to mention that the cross-cut saw cuts in both directions, right? Both back and forward. Alright? Good. So let us read or find out a bit more about the rip saw, right? it say it is a wood saw that is specially designed for making a rib cut. A cut made parallel to the direction of the wood grain. Right? So this rib saw, right, cut parallel to the wood grain, and it only cuts in one direction. Every time you push forward the saw cuts. And every time you pull back the saw, it won't cut at all. No matter how hard you put it back, it won't cut. It only cuts in one direction. Unlike the crosscut saw, every time you push forward and backward, timber is being cut. Unlike the rib saw, it only cuts in one direction. Right? Good. So that brings us to the end of the types of saw. And I'm sure you guys have learned a lot on the types of saw, right? You know that there's a difference in saw, there are different types of saw that cut only in specific directions and so forth. Right? Good.
Okay, students. So we look at what is answer, we look at the parts of answer, and we look at the types of answer. So now we're going to go into some activity study on answer. So we're going to look at match this saw to its correct name. So we have two saw on the board and two names. So the first saw, John, please stand. Can you give me the first name of the saw? The first saw? Yes, rip? No, that is incorrect. Thanks for trying. So, Mary, stand. Can you give me the name of the first saw? Yes, tenant saw. So, it's a tenant saw. So, we're going to match to the straight, the tenant to the saw. So, we're going on to the second saw. So, anyone can give me the name of the second saw?
Dovetail, miss.
No, that is incorrect. Okay, students, so we're moving on to the next saw. Can anyone give me the name of the next saw?
Is this not dovetail?
Yes, it's a dovetail saw. So we're going to match the dovetail to the correct name. So we're going on to the other saw. We're going on to the third saw. Can anyone tell me what is this saw? Mary. Crosscut. Yes, it's a crosscut saw. So we're moving on to the last types of saw. Can anyone tell me what is the last types of saw? Anyone? John? Yes.
This is not crosscut. That will be crosscut. Crosscut is the only one that left.
No, that is incorrect. Ready? Yes. Okay, crosscut is incorrect, but thanks to try. The last type of saw is the rip saw. So, these is all the 4 types of saw.
Good. So that brings us to the end of our lesson today.
2, 3.
Okay, students. So that has brought us to the end of today's lesson, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's lesson. Right? Next class, I guarantee you that it will be more enjoyable we'll be looking at some other type of hand tool, and I'll be up to date with my hand tool too. I'll be bringing it to class. You know, sir, don't play if we bring his tools for you guys to see the actual thing to class, right? So I hope you enjoy today's lesson.